Welcome to the Dynamic Company Culture Spotlight podcast. I am David Lindsay, co-founder, lead educator, and speaker at Phantom Leap Education. At Phantom Leap Education, we believe people have so much more inside of them than they realize. And through our services, we help them become the best versions of themselves possible. Beyond the individual, we also believe that company culture is such a large part in creating a business that not only survives, but will thrive through the tough times, as we have all been through the last few years. So over the next 20 to 30 minutes, we'll be shining the spotlight on businesses that have achieved this and how you may be able to incorporate some of their ideas and philosophies into your business. Stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can become a guest on a future podcast. Now is the time to sit back, take down some notes and enjoy this episode of the Dynamic Company Culture Spotlight podcast. Today we are joined by Director of Operations at the AIM Agency, life coach and international author with books such as Water for Her Soul and It Starts With I. Please welcome Antoinette Logan.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you today.
It's my absolute pleasure. And I'm excited to have you as a guest on this podcast. So to start off with, would you be able to give us a little bit about your background, about the AIM Agency and what you're doing as a life coach, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, which has been exceptionally difficult for a lot of people?
Absolutely. The AIM Agency, we are a creative agency that focuses on brand development and lead generation strategies. We take our clients from idea to brand, brand to business, business to elevation and profit. So we're really meeting them where they are to help them achieve their next level goals. The last couple of years has really actually been more focused on reaching the people from a person to person viewpoint with me personally. That was around the time that I released It Starts With I. And I literally, right after that book was written, it took me 3 days. I wrote it and published it all in 3 days. Got my printed copy sent a couple weeks after that, maybe 2.5. And literally went on the road immediately. And I didn't come home for almost 2 years. So I was out in the world touring with this book. And I wanted to make it my business to connect with the people directly. Every person I had a conversation with, most of them I was able to hug and touch their hands and hear their stories and connect with them to understand why it was so important to focus on self. Any goal that someone has that you want to achieve, it literally starts with self, with you. It's a decision you have to make. It's a perspective that you have to take on that I call the I perspective, looking at it from an I standpoint. How can I make this better for me? How does this situation benefit me? How do I give into X, Y, and Z? It's like all about you. If we focus on self, we have nothing more to worry about because we determine the trajectory of where we're going.
Yeah, I agree with you 1000% with that, because we're having a little conversation just before we got started talking about this exact thing. And before the listeners out there, can you explain, because some of them might go, but David, or but Antoinette, that's very selfish. How do you get people to view it from a different perspective of it not being selfish, but it's essential?
Well, the thing is, you can't be what you need to be for someone else until you're that thing for yourself first. So let's look at parents, for an example. You have children and you need to be great moms and dads. Well, how can you be a great mom and dad if you're being a horrible person to self? It starts with you first. So if you're not taking care of yourself in all the ways that actually matter, how can you offer that to your offspring? You can't. You can't pour from an empty cup if there's nothing in it to pour from. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. I agree with you. Like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. So and on one hand, I understand people saying, "Oh, that's selfish," because honestly, I remember I may have been about, I don't remember how old I was exactly. But I do remember having a conversation with my father. And it was along these lines. He was like, you need to be selfish. You need to
Yeah.
only worry about you. You helping everybody else. You're doing this for everybody else, but you need to only worry about you and focus on yourself. And I wish I had got it sooner, actually, because it was a
Mm.
really great piece of advice that probably could have changed the trajectory of my life sooner had I took heed of what was actually being told to me.
Yeah. I agree. And it's something that really, because from a young age, we all get taught, no, don't be selfish, do it for this, do it for that. But as you say, what can you give if you have nothing inside of you? There's nothing to give. So I just love that idea, and that you've got that book where it's not starts with why, it starts with I, it all starts from within. And like we spoke about, they always say in the plane, who do you put the oxygen on first? You put it on yourself,
Yourself.
because if you can't breathe, you become a liability. Whereas if you can breathe, you look after yourself first, you're strong, you become an asset. And
Yes.
you mentioned
Yes.
the last 2 years as well, you went on a tour. How was that? How was it meeting the people during the midst of this pandemic?
You know, a lot of the people that I met, you had some that were living great lives, but most were really affected by the things that were happening around them.
Mm,
And we could credit it to uh, COVID if we wanted, but we could also credit it to just the naturalness of things that transpire in the world with or without uh, virus such as COVID. You know what I mean?
yeah.
People were dealing with deaths from loved ones, drug addiction. It was a lot of situations that I was connecting with people about. You wouldn't believe, like some of the people that I met along the way online, there are these influencers with all these hundreds of thousands of followers. But when I met them, I didn't know that they were that. I didn't know
Yeah.
who they were, but they're meeting me with their trauma and with their problems to the point
Mm,
that I became like a voice or an ear, I should say, while they were getting ready to go through their rehab situations and just a lot of stuff. And,
yeah.
like one day I probably will share some of the messages that I've received over time from different folks, because it's just amazing how they're like, I'm sitting here reading your book, and because I met you, I hear it in your voice. I'm not
Mm,
just reading words. I literally can hear you saying this to
yeah.
me, and it's really impacting my life to do more and be better. And it literally led her to, I said, rehab and trying to get herself together, because I'm like, girl, you're this amazing person. You got all this great stuff happening, but this thing is holding you back. We got to do
Mm,
something about that. And
yeah.
and sometimes it doesn't come off in a so nice way. Sometimes it's like, no, excuse my language, but you got to get your sugar honey iced tea together
Mm,
like now,
yeah.
and you have to be a little bit firm sometimes in that, you know, that's what it was like. Really just seeing a lot of different people navigating through their traumas. That's what it was about.
Yeah.
I was not going to let my trauma stop me from being able to use it as a stepping stone to help others move forward.
Yeah, 100%. And with that as well, being able to have that impact as well, where, like you said, people that see you, now that they read it, they don't just, it's not just words on a page, but they hear your voice, being able to have that impact long term. And when it comes
Yes,
to your life coaching as well, like you said, sometimes you have to be firm, but it's that finding that balance as well. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. So what
absolutely.
have you found has worked for you to keep, like, in the AIM agency, to keep the culture, keep the energy, especially the last 2 3 years with you being on the road? Is there something that you found works for you and for your team when you might be feeling a little bit flat, to pick everyone up?
I use personal experiences always. I
Mm,
always allow people to know from the depth and the dark side of where it came from to versus to where we are now. Even
mm,
in present time, if there's a moment that we happen to have like now, and then it's something going on, I share that experience and say, yes, this is going on, but look at what we're actually doing. Look at what's happening on this side.
Yeah.
It's a balance, like you said, and it's gonna happen. Life isn't gonna be this picture perfect thing. We're gonna always come up against things that may be unknown to us. We're gonna come up against things that don't always feel good, but it's literally about the perspective that you have in your mind. It's like, how can I learn from this? What am I to learn in this situation? If you change the perspective about how things are, how you attack things that you experience day to day, it doesn't always feel like a negative, so to speak. So it's really just all about helping everyone keep the right mindset, to keep thinking in a positive way and looking for ways to learn from everything we experience over feeling like, oh my God, this is happening to me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And like you say, perspective is everything, because it might be a terrible day for you or it might be a terrible day for me, but our terrible day is someone's dream day.
Yes.
So, and
Yes.
that's something that I think that you touched on, and also the mindset of it as well. Always stuff's going to go wrong all the time. Murphy's going to raise their ugly head when we're on smooth sailing. And it's about that mindset. What can I learn from it? How can I grow as a result of that? So have you, over your book tour, was there any obstacle that really made you just stop for a second and really have to come up with a different way of overcoming that obstacle?
Well, I won't say obstacles, so to speak. And the reason why I won't say obstacles is because I honestly went into this without any expectations. When we put expectations on things, that's kind of where the letdown stuff can start to fester and happen, because you literally was expecting a certain thing to go a certain way. But if you go into things kind of not really having an expectation, then it's kind of not really a letdown, because what happens or don't happen is just that. It happened or didn't happen. You don't really feel away. So my tour was not the type of tour where you're like, all this marketing is pushed around a specific date and place. It wasn't that. It was more of what I call a pop-up tour, because it was more about the people that I needed to connect to impact and work with. I knew that people that needed those affirmations in that book, they were in a place that I had once been in, and actually was in at the time that I wrote these affirmations down, right? They weren't going to be sitting at home in happy places on Facebook all day. They weren't at a wonderful office, looking out at the beautiful skyline. They might not be driving the nicest car or what have you. They were probably in some of the places that I had been along my journey. So when I got to these different cities and states, I went to what we call the hood, or the ghetto, or the neighborhoods that aren't so pleasant. I went to the liquor stores. I went to local gas stations, and I'm literally selling books at the liquor store, selling books at the gas station, connecting with people that are everyday people similar to myself, and places and people that I love and care about from neighborhoods that I've passed through. So that was what it was. It was really more of that. I didn't have expectations of anything. If I didn't sell a book, or if I did, I think that the journey would have still been the same for me. I would have still came out just as happy, whether I didn't sell or not.
Yeah. And it's all just about the experience. And the great thing about what you said about going to all those different places is, no doubt you would have met people that wouldn't ever venture into a bookstore or wouldn't normally venture into the places to buy that. So you're really reaching people, like you said, that need a book such as this.
Yes. So you mentioned Water for Her Soul book, right? Well, the It Starts With I affirmations book was bought by a lady, and we became cool, almost like friends, so to speak. And I don't call everyone a friend. I mean, we have acquaintances, we meet people, but really did build a relationship. And she has sent me a picture of her daughter reading It Starts With I. And her daughter had said, like, wow, an author? I've never met an author before. And I made it my business to pull up. So I went to Arizona and I pulled up so this little girl could meet me.
Yeah.
And it turned into, she's like, I want to write a book too. Guess what? We're going to write a book. So the Water for Her Soul book is co-authored with that 11-year-old girl, because she met an author and it made her want to become one. So we together did that in not a long time. We have a book ready in less than 30 days. It don't take all day to do anything if it's something that you really want to do. If it's meant for you to do it, the tools, the resources will be there. You'll be able to pull what you need out of yourself to make it happen. And we did that.
That's crazy. Like going out of your way to meet that girl because I know I'm thinking back to when I was a little kid, when I see sports stars, and it's just like seeing a sports star or seeing an author, they're just like on that next level. But then to be invited to co-author it, that no doubt would have just, her family, that's something that they're going to have forever. That's something that you and this girl have forever. And like, that just gives me little butterflies inside.
I love it. I love it. For me, it was important to be the examples that we didn't always have. I can't say yay or nay, because I have been privileged to connect with different types of people along my journey. But when I was younger, I don't think that I actually knew an author per se when I was her age. But I will say is, being able to make that impact on someone at that young age, to me, is bigger than me, because now she can impact other people in her life to be more. And they don't, a lot of times we don't always think about the other opportunities of which we can become. Most of the time you think about the main things you see on TV. So like your sports, entertainment, you know what I mean? Maybe you might think about being a news anchor, the police, the fire, right. But there's so much more out there. And I just want to be able to be an individual that can help spark that interest and pull that greatness out of other people, because we all have it. You just need to tap into your eye power and pull it out of yourself, because it's there. Everything that you know, everything that you've learned from your journey and your experience can be turned into a creative masterpiece that you can use to share with the world and live off of it.
Oh, 100%. And the flow and effect that, like you said, it's not necessarily the things that you see each and every day, but sparking that curiosity in that 11-year-old girl, and then to be a part of that journey. It's just crazy. My mind's just going like the excitement of that little girl and her future as well, where you've steered her on a completely different path. And going down that sort of lines, like we've got a whole heap of experience back that we didn't have when we were 11, 12, 13, 14. What's some advice that you would love to go, if you could go back to a 15-year-old you, and you see her in the street and you see this little Antoinette? What words would you say to her?
I would probably tell her to do more. I was doing a lot. I was tapped into my creative side, but because I lacked the support that goes with it, I can pull it out of myself like I do now. If I would go back and tell her, don't worry about who's not there. Don't worry about who's not clapping. Don't worry about who's not supporting. You already have what you need inside of you. Do more. Keep on. Pull it out. Give more of yourself to the world in a creative and expressive way. Because these things that I share today that we call books or songs, when I write songs because I sing too, or any of these tools and things that I present, these things were there then. I would tell her, go for it, do it, find a way, because there is a way. You just might not have figured it out yet. Sometimes when you're young, especially, you try to do something, if it doesn't go the way you want or don't work out, you just stop and like, oh, I guess it's not meant to be. But no, it's a million ways you can figure that out and try again. Ask questions, research. I would say do more.
I love it. And like you said, there's always a way. You can find a way, or you can find an excuse. And unfortunately, too many people reach for that excuse. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have this. But when there's a way, you can find a way to overcome those obstacles. Or, sorry, because obstacles throws in again that expectation. And that's what we spoke about earlier on. So when you just come up against a roadblock, when you want it, you can find a way.
I missed a lot of what you just said. It was kind of choppy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what I just said was that telling that 15-year-old you to go and do it, go and be more, because you mentioned earlier that you can find a way or you can find an excuse. So when you really put your mind to something, you're going to find a way to get to that end goal. You're going to find that way to do it. So I think that's brilliant advice. Just do it and do more. We think that we're doing so much, but there's always a lot more that we can
More
do.
that can be done.
Mm,
Yes, yes, absolutely. There's always more to be done, more that you can do, which is one reason why when people, everyone's not going to understand what your journey and roadmap is going to look like to what you desire to be your success.
mm,
And I'm always busy. Most people don't understand what I mean because they don't get it. They're not around me today. I wake up and do my thing because it's what I have desired to be, what my success looks like. And there's always more of where that came from. I'm not gonna stop anytime soon. And I don't suggest you or anyone else do. If you have like that burning desire of something brewing inside of you that you want to share with people and the world, let that thing out. Figure
yeah.
out a way to creatively express it. And it might come out like you're doing in the form of a podcast. It could be a magazine tomorrow. It could be a piece of art that you drew, a picture of whatever the next day. It's
Mm,
all pieces of you that is your gift to the world. So it's
mm,
always more than we do because there's so much of us inside. We have so much to give. When you think you don't, even when you're in the darkest place, that those dark moments are not to be forgotten or sheltered
mm,
and not expressed. Those
mm.
are to be shared and told too. So those are pieces to give to the world because as you share those moments, you heal and you become better. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
no matter who you are and what you're going through and where you are in life, there's more in you to give.
Yeah. And that goes almost full circle to with it starts with I. I can do this. I can do that. And you mentioned before affirmations as well, using them as a tool to just get that growth. And have you found that working with AIM agency with your employees, that's something that you really push forward for them to use affirmations and for them to really look inside and realize that they have so much more to give?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not even just a staff thing. It's anybody I'm in communication with. We could be, I'd be booking an interview with you and you could say something or make a mistake. One of the biggest things that happens with strangers all the time, it might be something happened and they say, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, you're not. Don't say you're sorry. Are you a sorry
Mm,
person?
yeah,
Because I'm not, and I don't deal with sorry people. You can
yeah.
be apologetic if you choose to be, but you're not sorry.
Mm,
Let's be intentional with
yeah,
the words that we use, the things that we say out of our mouths. So for me, it's not just about my staff, it's whoever I am in communication with, whoever I encounter, whoever's in my path. It is my duty to share greatness and the gifts that allow us to live intentional lives. My new book, It Starts With I, Intention, is on the way. And I want to say that because the affirmations is one part, but you
mm,
gotta also know how to live an intentional life. The things happening for me today are not by accident. They are
mm,
intentionally happening because I set a plan and a strategy and I move in a direction of the way that I want my life to go. And I'm
yeah,
going to see that it happens that way.
yeah,
It's in alignment. And we all can create that roadmap for ourselves, but it has to start with you first changing your mindset to be focused on positivity and focused on your I perspective. And then from there, you got to move on to what we're going to be talking about in the next book, that your intention for your life, your intention for your day, your intention for your week, your intention for your communication with said person. One thing I can say about you and your intention and how you move forward with your interview process, you are very intentional with every single thing you do from day 1 to day 5. How you speak to us, how you prepare us, and all of those things. So you guarantee that the end product is going to be a certain way because you intentionally set a roadmap for it to happen exactly how it needs to. And that is a part of your success, which is a part of my success. You've impacted me. You've given me an inspiration for how I want to do my own thing. Like, you know what? I like how he did that. You know, and that's just a thing that we have to keep in mind on the forefront.
Yeah.
I'm rambling now. My bad.
No, I love it and I love that you be intentional with the words that you use. You be intentional with your actions, because as you say, with the affirmations, yes, we can say it in our mind, but without intention of action, it's going to stay up there. And be very thoughtful with the words that you use, because words have power. We both know that, and so do the people that are listening.
Yes.
The words and actions, they're powerful. So be intent with the words that you mean. They have a purpose. Don't use these wishy-washy, oh, sorry for that, I'm sorry. Or one of my pet hates is, I'm sorry, but. If you say I'm sorry, but, just forget about the I'm sorry. Just tell me what's happening. So and with everything that's gone on the last 2 to 3 years, where do you see yourself with the AIM agency, your life coaching and your authoring? Where do you see that in the coming 3 or 4 years? Do you have a forecast of where you see those different elements of yourself?
Yes. So for me, I definitely see me speaking more and more and more stages, audiences, giving more of the greatness that has been gifted to me along this journey to the people. I am going to be doing more books, more teaching opportunities, really just amplifying my voice as loud as I can.
I
That's
love
really
it.
my main goal and focus for Antoinette as a brand. The AIM agency is definitely always going to be a spot that people can go to for all their business brand needs. I'm honestly in a transition of what I really, really wanted to become moving forward. I can't really say I'm still brainstorming and allow my spirit to guide me with what it should be. And that's because I myself want to walk more in my purpose, just using my voice.
Yeah.
So I'm making a decision like, am I gonna keep the AIM agency going where the staff and everybody's completely running it where I'm away from it, or am I gonna let it go? I don't know just yet. And I don't think that I have to rush it, because the way that life is, I have the privilege to be able to keep AIM going and help people when I can and still do what I am focused on doing right now. So we'll see. I don't know just yet, but I know that using this voice of mine is going to be a part of this journey moving forward.
Yeah, because
This is
I love
not
that
the
about.
last time you've seen or heard of me.
Because I love that about just amplifying your voice, getting it out there, getting it more, and just like I could keep talking to you for a long time, but the time's so quickly slipped away from us. Where can the listeners get in contact with you and learn more about Antoinette, learn more about the It Starts With I, learn more about AIM Agency?
You can always connect with me on any social media platform at AskMsLogan, AskMsLogan. And then the AIM agency is at AIM, AIM, the number 4, and brands BRANDS on all platforms. Also, that is the website handle as well. So you can just connect. I like to use social media as a customer service tool. I like to be very transparent. You can connect with us about anything business related. If we do a service for you and you have a problem, say it on the social media page. It's no problem because we're gonna handle it directly, head on, very transparent. No matter what it is, we're gonna find a solution to make sure that everybody's happy when we walk away. Yeah. But reach out to me on social media. I love to connect with people. I'm a person that you can DM or inbox. You know, I have free consultations still currently. I'll be honest, that's not gonna stick around for much longer.
So jump on it now.
Into another direction. Absolutely, you definitely want to jump in now because before you know it, that will on.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I just want to thank you very much for taking the time all the way from the US, coming to us all the way here in Australia. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Antoinette.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great talking to you. I look forward to it.
Beautiful. My pleasure. Thank you so much for listening to the Dynamic Company Culture Spotlight podcast. If you're a successful Chief Operations Officer, Human Resource Manager, or someone that runs a successful business that also has a great company culture, and you believe that you have a story to share with the wider community and would like to be a guest on a future podcast, please visit the link below. Or if you can think of anyone who you know would be a brilliant guest on this podcast, tag them in. And as always, feel free to share this far and wide. The further we can get this podcast, the more impact we can have. So don't forget to share this on all social media platforms and help others along the way. Don't forget to tag the DCCS podcast, as I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. As we post regularly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss episodes that will possibly help your business ramp up to a whole nother level. Your ratings and reviews go a long way to helping us get recognized and to promote the show, and they mean a lot to my team and I. If you want to know more, go to our website, www.phenomleap.com.au, or follow me on LinkedIn and feel free to message me there. Thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to giving you more tips on next week's episode.